Welcome back to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast with me, Johnny Pardo. Today, I have a special guest on the episode with me. So welcome, Derrick. Hey, Derrick.
Johnny, great to be with you. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you as well. And loving the background you've got for us today. And if you're on the podcast, you can't see Derrick's background, but very decorative and artistic. So yeah, we're looking forward to diving in and talking about the money mindset and relationships with money today. So thanks again for being here, Derrick. We appreciate it.
Happy to do it. Yeah. Thrilled to be with you. Looking forward to this conversation.
Awesome. So I'm just going to give a quick introduction into Derrick, and then Derrick can say a little bit more about what he does and what got into where he is today. So Derrick is looking at the way people feel about money. He believes money is not bad and good people should have it. After applying these proven principles with thousands of clients, Derrick has sold his multi-million-dollar business to teach these success steps with you. So, Derrick, can you tell us a little bit about what you do and what got you into where you are today?
You bet, Johnny. Again, great to be with you, and what a thrill to be with your audience as well today. So let me go back to a hotel room in Boston, Massachusetts in July of 2019. So every year I go on what I call a sabbatical, which is basically about 5 days completely by myself. And what I do is I ask myself three questions. How can I be a better husband? How can I be a better father? And how can I be a better business owner? So those three questions really guide me through the whole week. And my rationale, Johnny, is that it makes sense for me to take 1 week to plan and strategize and have a direction of where I'm going for the other 51 weeks out of the year. And so this particular time in Boston was really pivotal because I've been asking myself for a few months, what is it that I really want to do next? And as being a financial advisor, what I want to keep doing for years to come. And the very first morning I was there, I began to write a list out of all the things that I would enjoy doing. And on the list was write a book, launch a podcast, coach, speak. And surprisingly, actually shockingly, on the list was not being a financial advisor. Well, when I saw that, I had to lean back in my chair and take a deep breath and began to think it wasn't that I didn't enjoy being a financial advisor and I didn't love serving my clients, but it just wasn't a challenge that I felt like I could keep growing in. I felt like I had done that, accomplished it, achieved very, very high levels of success. But I wanted to take what I call this good money message, not just to my smaller client base, it was several hundred people, but I wanted to take it more national. So that's really how this message was birthed, was through a tough, gut-wrenching decision to sell a business I had built up for 25 years to really bet on myself again. I had done this many times in my life, but now it was not having a revenue stream behind me to launch what I feel like is going to be the new way for people to think about money today.
Ah, brilliant. So yeah, you obviously had experience in the area of financial advising, but for you, you wanted to do something a bit bigger than that, something that was going to really grow you as well as contribute to other people.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And I think many people listening right now may be facing a similar decision where they're good at what they do and they make good money at it, but they're always asking themselves, is there more? Is there more potential inside of me that could be extracted, that I could really make a bigger impact on my family and myself and my friends and really the world? And that's the point that I came to. And so it's been so rewarding in the past year and a half as I've written the book, launched the Good Money podcast, and all of the crux of this is really boiling down to one central principle, which for some of your listeners may wonder, I've never ever thought this before, but this whole concept that some people believe that money is bad. And that if you have a lot of money, you're really bad. And if you have built a successful company, well, you must be downright villainous because you probably have robbed people of not paying them well and you've accumulated all this money. That's sort of the perception that's out there from some people. So what I want to do is kind of separate these two camps. And what I learned is people who like to have a business and grow their business and build wealth, most of them are not saying money is bad. Instead, it's people that feel like they're looking from the outside in, and they feel like they're hopeless, that they've made bad money decisions that they can't bounce back from, or they just don't know how to make more money. They become much more critical of this group of people who actually has more money. And the mentality becomes that it's almost like a pond versus a river. And people begin to think that people with money sort of have all the money reserved in this big pond over here. And because they have all the money, then I can't have any of it. I can't access that. And my belief is money is simply a river. Money flows where value goes. And one of the principles I talk about in the book is, how can you add more value wherever you're at right now? The job you're in, the business you own, whatever you're doing right now to generate revenue, what's a better way to do that where the dollar sign on your head says you're worth more than what you're paid right now, and you can do more good in the world? So blending all those together has been a real empowering combination for people to begin to rethink how they thought about money for many, many years.
Yeah, I love that. Giving value, and that's definitely a message I've heard from some, very successful entrepreneurs who are not only, got the money, but they're happy and they're fulfilled and they're contributing. That's often a common message that I hear. Like it's the exchange of value in a way. So I love what you're saying. And also, would you say sometimes there's perhaps in a world of where we want that instant gratification, sometimes we want things instantly, that there's sometimes a level of patience needed with actually receiving it back as well?
I would agree with that. And let me give you an example. There was a woman named Debbie who I worked with about 10 years ago, and she had joined a startup engineering firm. So she'd gotten out of college, got right into this startup, was super excited. The energy level was high. People were thrilled to be there. A lot of hours, but nonetheless, she really was drawn to it. And about 2 years into this, she began to realize that the door of opportunity for her and even money was closing, and she was highly, highly frustrated. So she came to me, she said, Derrick, can we work a plan to find a way for me to make more money? And what she didn't want to do was get the typical 3 to 4% cost of living raise. Is almost like a crumb that gets tossed out there. And right now, people getting those raises can barely keep up with inflation. So she was in that boat. And so what we did is we came up with a strategy of a conversation she would have with her boss about how could she create more capacity, more time for her boss to then generate more revenue and offload some of these lower revenue clients to her so that she could then generate revenue off of them. So the whole strategy was go to her boss, get a certification that would help her unload these clients from her boss to her. It ended up getting her about a $5,000 raise right off the bat. Her boss reimbursed her to get her licensing, but it then gave her this unlimited revenue stream in the future, that the more value she provided to these clients who really weren't being serviced at all, she could make more money, and the clients really loved her for it. Plus, her boss loved the fact that suddenly now 25% of her time was now freed up to go get new business. And then the other thing that Debbie did was she said, you know what? Why are we waiting on the sales team at our company to generate all the sales? What if you empowered each employee here in this company to say, if we make a referral to the sales department and it actually generates business, then give the person who gave the referral a bonus. Well, suddenly what happened was it shifted the entire culture of this small company. I mean, Debbie led this movement inside the company, but everybody suddenly benefited. The boss loved it because now people were empowered to go make more money, find ways to save money, just add value to this business. And business skyrocketed and people's salaries skyrocketed as well. It was this win-win solution that I think more and more companies and employees can really employ today.
Yeah, it's a better strategy. It was basically using a better strategy than rather necessarily pumping in more money. It was a different approach in that sense that they used.
Yeah, it was a different approach. And what I advised Debbie not to do was the old way of asking for a raise. which
Mm.
many people can relate to this, is you bang on the boss's door. Hey, look, either give me a raise or I'm out of here. Well, right now, some call it the Great Resignation, some call it the Great Employee Shortage. Right now, you could sort of force your boss probably into a corner and get more money. The problem is that builds up resentment and not valuing you more as the employee. Or you may want to consider changing jobs, and you could probably get paid more money somewhere else, no doubt about it. The problem is, and Johnny, this is something many people overlook, it's one word, and it's culture. Imagine leaving the company you're at, jumping ship, going somewhere else, making, X amount of money more, but you don't like it there. You don't like your boss. You don't like the people who are there. You don't feel like you're part of something important. So before you automatically jump ship, I advise people, look where your feet are right now and start there and begin to make a list of how can you add value where you currently are. Because if you like the company and you can show ways to increase sales, grow the business, reduce costs, you will become a valued employee and you're going to be making more money. And that's so important, especially right now.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing a little bit as well from it is resourcefulness over resources as well. So it's kind of that, like, thinking outside the box a little bit, thinking of a new way rather than like, give me more money, or, we need more money, we need more investors or whatever, at the sort of board level. But yeah, it's being more resourceful than resources. And yeah, I can
Yeah,
certainly
I'll tell you, I'll tell you a story about that. So I had a couple come in the office, and they were frustrated. Young
Mm,
couple, just good incomes and jobs that were really, really solid, but they were frustrated that they kept getting not paid what they felt like they deserved and were worth. Okay. And what happened is the one spouse went to her boss and said, look, my expenses have gone up. It's costing me more to live. I just need to make more money here. Okay. Well, that conversation got shut down immediately. So came back into my office, and I kind of said, this is really not the best way to approach this, but they wanted to kind of go their own way. So I said, you know what, now that we've tested this approach and how ineffective it was, let's go with having the other spouse approach the boss with the mentality that every boss's or even every CEO's favorite radio station is WIIFM. What's in it for me? If you can tune into that radio station and not come with this argument of, look, it costs more to put gas in my tank and put food on the table. Your boss, just truthfully, I'm just being a voice of reason here, views those as sort of your problem. That's not a me problem, that's a you problem. And so this other spouse approached the boss with, look, I really love working here, but I've identified some ways that I think could actually help us make more money. And what I want to do is I want to make more money as well. So it's a win-win. What if we found ways that the more money that I help the company make or save, I got a percentage of that, almost like a dollar detective. So this particular person was in administration. So she knew what supplies cost for the entire company. She was in charge of operations. So what she said was, how about for every dollar that I find a way to save, you give me a quarter of that savings? Well, at first her boss took a little bit to convince her, but what she realized was, look, there's a 75% savings I'm getting by rewarding this person with a quarter of that savings, if that makes sense. And so the bottom line was both the employee and the boss in this case began to think even more like entrepreneurs to really empower and motivate their team. Because one thing we know, Johnny, is when someone leaves a company right now, it's going to cost a lot more money to replace them and to train the new person. And so companies right now, I think the timing of this message is so powerful that, look, if you own a company or you're an employee in one, now's the time to really come to the table with a value-based discussion, because it's going to set you apart from all the other people simply clamoring for, like, either give me more money or I'm taking this offer.
yeah. Yeah, love that. Love that example of the couple you just used there as well. So it's always different ways of thinking. And, sometimes when they approach people like yourself, it can really get them thinking in those new ways. And actually, the value or the what's in it for me. I love that acronym, always thinking about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the key parts of the book, if I might mention that,
Yeah, please
is
do.
it's called the Good Money Framework, and it's a 7-step way. I call it shame-free financial planning. So much of financial books out there and financial pundits and experts, if you will, talk about, look, if you buy that extra latte at the coffee shop, well, you're bad. If you treat yourself to something nice that cost money, well, you're bad, because you should be saving all that and basically living like a pauper. See, I don't subscribe to that. I don't want to say to someone, look, because you spent this, you're a bad person. What I want to do is back this up and then reverse it. And the concept that I lead with in the book is, what is a cause that you care deeply about? What's a wrong that you want to right, an injustice that you see in the world? And what can you do about that? So many people, when they think back, even when they were children, they might have thought, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough influence, I don't have enough impact to really make any difference in the world. And what I want to do is take a big eraser and erase all that bad thinking and say, where you are right now is where you can start. And so one line of thinking is just go make money to be able to retire, put your kids through college, pay off debt, which is fine. But how much more powerful is it, and how much more meaningful if you can tie a cause to your cash? If you can connect your meaning in life to money, or in a business, if you want to connect your profits to a purpose, now suddenly you're motivated in a fresh way to not just make money, but go make a lot of money so that you can improve yourself, your family's life, but now you can make an impact in the world. And that's where I think this whole message is so fresh right now, but also it's simple. So many people make money way overcomplicated. Let me give you an example. There was a woman that came in, actually, I was in the office on a Saturday, just kind of catching up on some things, but my voicemail light began to blink. And I knew if I don't pick up that phone, this could be something bad. You just get a gut feeling. And so I listened to the message. Well, there was a frantic woman's voice on the line, Johnny. And she said, Derrick, you've got to call me back. I bounced a check and I'm going to go to jail. Well, my gosh, when she said that, I knew I needed to call her back right away. So I called her back and I said, tell me what's happened. She said, Derrick, I made a purchase in my savings account, but I forgot to move money from my checking account over to cover it, and I'm going to go to jail. And I said, okay, first of all, let's take first things first. I will call the bank with you on Monday as a courtesy, and we'll move the money together so you'll be okay. But I said, tell me why you think you're going to go to jail. And she began to tell me this story back when she was a kid, that she witnessed her dad buying school supplies at a local store and had accidentally done the same thing, written a hot check, hadn't moved the money from one account to the other. And she overheard the store manager calling her dad on the phone saying, you wrote a hot check, I'm going to put you in jail. Well, let's take a step back here. How traumatic, first of all, for a young child to witness a conversation like that. But here now, this woman is now about 55 years old. On the outside has all the trappings of success, the nice job, the car, the house, but inside she was crumbling financially and feeling like money was bad, that she wasn't deserving of money. And if you make any money mistakes, you are doomed. And what it gave me some perspective on was, over the years, I'd worked with her for probably 15 years, I noticed that she was very hesitant to make any bold money moves. Like, I would recommend some good investment advice, but she wouldn't take action on it, and she would miss out on quite a bit of growth. And what I realized was she was held back by what she saw as a child. And what I realized was, if that's happening to her, I bet this is more widespread than many people think about, that they might have seen their mom or dad or grandma and grandpa, bang their fist on the table and say, if only we had more money, then we could do this. Or they might have seen someone say very close to them, you know, Derrick, there's the haves and the have-nots in the world, and we happen to be the have-nots. And people grow up thinking that regardless of what they do, how hard they work, how hard they study, the initiative they show, they can't move from the have-not category to the haves. And so part of this message is, regardless of what your past is, you can control what your future looks like. And that's what the message that I want to share with people. And so I wanted to make a very simple 7-step process. And so the first step is to define your generosity purpose. What is that cause that you care deeply about that will motivate you to want to go make more money? And by the way, I want to give some of these causes, but you're always still making more money. And then the second step is pick out 3 financial goals. We're not going to over goal ourselves here. You know, so many people don't achieve their New Year's resolutions because they say, I'm going to lose weight, get a dog, get a new car, eat better. Well, my gosh, who could do that in the course of even 3 months? I just want you to write down on a sticky note or a note card my top 3 financial goals. That might be save $10,000 for retirement, pay down $5,000 on my high interest credit card. I want to save for this vacation. And that's it. And what happens is, by getting laser focused on those 3 goals, suddenly these other goals fall into place. And one thing that I would say to supercharge that would be, write down, when I achieve these goals, I will feel, and then put in there a word that really encapsulates the emotion that you will feel. I will feel bold. I will feel courageous. I will feel accomplished. It's going to be a unique word for you, but I want to help you visualize that by doing this, you're really resetting not just you and your family, but future generations in terms of what they can do financially. And it's such a powerful thing, especially right now, for people to do.
Yeah, I love that one. And I like the way you put it down to 3 as well, because I sometimes call myself out for that in the whole like weekly goals, monthly goal, or whatever, yearly goal setting. It's like, but the brain, I seem to find, goes 1, 2, 3, many. So after 3, it kind of gets a bit confused.
Yeah. You know, it's so true, because money is a game. And one of the things I've learned over the years is, you know, money doesn't require you to have a law degree, to go to medical school, go to nursing school, go to college at all. The tools are available for people to make money regardless of their socioeconomic, education, or their past background. And so it's important for people in their money mindset right now to re-believe that, look, just because other people have money or appear to be good at making money does not mean that I can't do the same thing also. And let me give you an example of this. You know, back in when COVID first broke out, you know, 2020, the first part, everybody's consumer behavior shifted. People began to shop less at the local stores, and they began to go to the Amazons here in the States and Walmart.com. And my doorbell was ringing multiple times a day as I'm growing this new business. And I'm thankful that Amazon has a structure in place that made it so easy for me to get what I needed to grow my business. But now, on the other side of that was this entire different viewpoint. And that was, it's just not right for a company like Amazon to make so much money while so many people are suffering during the pandemic. Well, I can understand that. I can understand that viewpoint. But as a capitalist and as someone who likes to make money and appreciates companies who add value to people's lives, what I said was this: I could either choose to attack and criticize Jeff Bezos, who at the time was the CEO of Amazon, or I could say, you know what? I'm going to learn from people like Jeff Bezos and other successful people who added great value during the pandemic. And I want to lead my business to also add great value to people as well. I mean, you see the difference there? And that's where I think people who are new to the workforce, or they have in their mind a vision for starting their own business or a side hustle or a side gig, whatever it is, what is the biggest pain point that you see right now in your local world, in your community, that you could help solve easily? One of the things I talk about in the book is when people think about a side hustle, they make it overcomplicated again. I had a client come in the office and he said, Derrick, I'm not making the money I want in the job I'm at. I want to start something on the side. I think I'm going to start like a technology, like a computer coding company where I do code in the background. And I said, well, first of all, have you ever written code before? Well, no, but I know it's popular and it's a trend out there. And I said, how good are you with computers? Well, I'm not really good at computers, but I can learn how to do it. But the money is really, really good. And I said, John, think about it like this. You're in a job right now that you don't feel like you're getting fully paid for, and you're about to launch an entirely new business on the evenings and weekends when you're tired and missing out on doing things with your friends and other couples. And you're going to learn something that you're not even really good at. Instead, let's rewind that film and ask yourself this. In the course of a normal day, what are the questions that people routinely ask you for problems to help them solve? Well, what he began to realize was he was in the software sales business, and people would ask him, how can I do this quicker? How can I do this better? How can I simplify some of these programs? I said, there's your key right there. You already have an audience of people who will pay you, they value you, and most importantly, they trust you. Just go into that. And what he found was that began to grow very, very quickly because he knew it, he enjoyed it, and people already connected him with helping solve that problem. So right now, what I would say to people, and there might be teachers, cops, firefighters, pilots, there are certain people that are in this pay range that they have little flexibility. For example, they could be the best teacher in the world, the teacher that every parent wants their kid to have, but they can't knock on the principal's door and say, hey, I want more money. There's a pay range that they all fall in based on the union, based on their contracts, et cetera. And so the reality for them is after working 40, 50, 60-hour weeks, they can either choose to, in this case, stay a teacher, or they could change careers and probably get paid more money. So that's choice number one, okay? Love the teachers, but just economically, they're not always paid what I feel like they should be paid. The other option is they could stay as a teacher, working the 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and then start a side hustle on top of that, possibly helping newer teachers find classroom management techniques or how to teach difficult topics to kids, or even doing some training or coaching or teaching on the side to some of her students that are there. And so all of that is just given where you're at right now. So again, some people, they may find it harder to start the side gig, but ideally, if you can, you want to go to your boss, add value. As I mentioned before, money flows where value goes. If you do that, opportunity will come your way, but you have to make that decision right now. I just believe 2022 is a defining year for people to go make more money. I just think this is the easiest year to do it. And if you have a strategy, you're going to come out of here a year later in a much better financial situation.
Yeah, like what you're saying about utilizing your experience, and often we forget our own skill sets. So
right.
That was a really great question you ask. What do people come to me as a problem regularly, and what can I solve? Again, going back to that resourcefulness, and as well as talking to boss. And again, the key word we keep saying is value, value, value. So that's always obviously linked directly to the money. So one question I wanted to ask you, Derrick, was obviously you were talking a moment ago about when one of your clients picked up that belief about her father, not worrying unintentionally, not, the money going across and everything like that. And then therefore it made her a little bit cautious. And often I've spoken about our opinions of ourselves, our self-confidence are made up a lot in early years. But obviously what I'm teaching is helping people overcome that and actually have beliefs that empower them a lot more. And that's what I do with clients. But also, like you were saying, your money beliefs are created a lot from those childhood years, especially when we're in that learning and absorbing phase. And yeah, I've kind of grown up with two parents. You're talking about teachers. Both my parents, I'm pretty fortunate on how I grew up. I had two working parents as teachers, but not necessarily entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And, we all have, and some people maybe less blessed, unfortunately, and didn't have such a good financial background growing up. But often that creates our beliefs. So what would you say that there's obviously a lot of different beliefs people have, but are there perhaps maybe two or three common limiting beliefs you come across with people about money?
Yeah, I'll share two big ones that I think many
Mm.
people can relate to. And one of them is that because I have not been successful with money, what can I teach other members of my family about money? And I'll give you an example. So when I come home from the office, which these days is simply upstairs, I'm walking downstairs. But when my kids were younger, we go around the dinner table and we talk about the best part of our day, worst part of our day. And they would say, Dad, how was your day? I said, oh, it was fine. Just another day helping clients and so forth. Well, that answer garnered no attention whatsoever. Okay. But when there were days where I said, you know what, guys, Dad really screwed up. I really made a bad decision. Well, suddenly their forks go down, their eyes are all laser focused on Dad, and they're whispering, oh my gosh, Dad made a mistake. This is going to be really good. He really messed up. And so if I picked an investment that didn't do very well, or there was an issue that came up, and what I learned was at first it was a bit embarrassing, but then I learned a valuable lesson, and that was the best learning is taught from someone's mistakes, not always the wins that are there. And so I was able to tell them, you know what, here was the mistake I made, and here was the process I went through to do this. But based on my best knowledge at the time, I still made this mistake. Well, what that did is that humanized Dad to them. It made Dad look like a real person, not this sort of superhero that kids think of their parents when they're younger. It's like, hey, I make mistakes, you make mistakes. So let me kind of drill this down a bit further. I had a couple come in the office. This would have been, gosh, probably 15 years or so ago, Johnny. And they had made, when they first came to me, referred by their CPA, as we began to kind of unpack their financial history, they had made some really significant financial mistakes. Their business had gone into the ground. They had built up a lot of credit card debt. They weren't really getting paid what they were worth. They were really in a mess financially. And as we began to talk about what their goals were, they shared with me something interesting. They said, Derrick, we really want our grandkids to be empowered financially, but we don't feel like we have the ability to talk even to our kids or grandkids with any credibility because of how bad we've handled our money. And so what I said to them was, I said, true, you have made some significant mistakes. And I said, you have a choice to make. You can either choose to keep the mistakes you've made tucked away, or you can actually choose to make those mistakes money-making learning opportunities for your kids and your grandkids. Well, their eyes got as big as saucers, and I said, let's walk through what this looks like. What you can do is sit down together and say, you know what, given the economy like it is, I want you to make as much money as you can so that you can, do more good in the world. I wanted to share with you some ways to do that, but I want to also share some mistakes that we've made, but also let's be curious together and learn about this together, okay? So Johnny, here's why I say that, and that is one of the things that COVID has taught many people is we're all just one global event away from losing a job or having to take a pay cut, and it not being your fault whatsoever. It's just one thing happens and it could affect an entire industry, as we've seen. And I believe even more now than ever that right now, what kids grow up in often is this mentality that they see in their family and around them that they are the receivers of money, that they get a paycheck every 2 weeks, once a month. That's how it means to work in America. And instead of just being the receiver of money, I want to crumple that piece of paper up and throw it out and say, no, we need to teach our kids and grandkids to be the creators of money, not just the receivers of money. Now, here's what that means. That means empowering them to, hey, get a good job, but don't get a job with the mentality that I'm going to stay here forever, or that job is going to define me for the rest of my life. It's a tool to help you add value to both the employees you work with and the customers, but you then want to, on the side, build up your own side hustle or your side gig based on your strengths. And then the goal is now you've got two streams of revenue coming in. One is your fixed revenue stream from the company that you're at. The second may be a variable one, but it's a side hustle that you're creating that eventually the goal would be that you leave the full-time job and go to the side hustle. And what that is, it's sort of, for lack of a better word, it builds a moat around you that irregardless of what the economy may do or political situation or globally, whatever may happen, you've got an income stream that belongs to you and is not dependent on a boss or a company telling you what you're worth. In that channel, you're the one creating the value and assigning how much you're worth. So those would be some practical examples that I would tell people. And I would just write down, sometimes it's painful to revisit some of these past money mistakes, but if you can do that, you can really help your kids and grandkids and your other family members avoid those. And you sort of become this swashbuckling hero that took the risk, that made the big decision. Maybe you swung for the fence and the ball didn't go over the fence, but at least you're making progress and you're being curious together, which is a really powerful thing to do.
Being okay with, making mistakes, but also sharing them for a better opportunity for yourself and other people. Love that. I sometimes think it's better to, go, oh, well, than what if. So,
Right.
Yeah. Obviously not intentionally. We're not saying intentionally go out and make a money mistake and buy something you really shouldn't, but, using your experience for kind of the better of other people as well. I love that golden nugget.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you too, one thing that happened to me, and this was a couple years back, one year my net worth just really grew. And I call my net worth sort of the report card for adults. It doesn't lie. It tells you what you own minus what you owe. And it's like a report card to say, here's where I stand today financially. Well, what had happened was this was back in 2008. So I had bought a business that basically doubled our size. It was a lot of risk. People questioned me at a deep level. Derrick, what are you thinking? What are you doing? But I had a belief that the model and the service that we had could be replicated in the Dallas area. I live here in Arlington, right between Dallas and Fort Worth. And as we did that, I kept, I would save a lot. So there's 3 good money levers I talk about. One is save more, crush your debt, and earn more. And what I was doing is I was saving. I wasn't just saving money into my checking or savings account, because that really wouldn't grow much at all. I had picked out a couple different stocks that I just long-term believed in and kept adding money every single week. And what happened, this was 2008, the market was dropping every single week and I was questioning myself every week. But I realized, Derrick, if you have long-term faith, this is the best opportunity, one of the best in your lifetime, as the market drops like this, to buy while it's low. And so then on this other side, we grew the business because we began to add value to the customers that we had. We began to serve them better, find ways to save money for them, help them grow their money, plus reducing debt. And the game that I began to play was, if I worked for someone and my boss said to me, Derrick, we've fallen on hard times as a company, to keep your job, you're going to need to take about a 20% pay cut. What would I do? And that was an imaginary game. And some people could say they can make that number 5%, 10%, 15, whatever it is. But I then began to look at all of those commoditized expenses, as I call them. Those expenses that you can buy from anybody, your cable company, automobile insurance, homeowners insurance, renters insurance. In Texas, we can choose our electricity provider. I mean, all over the world, there's going to be expenses you've got that there's very little differentiation, between company A and company B. So what I would encourage people to do, and what I did was, I called each of those companies and said, look, I'm considering changing, and I want to see if there's either a new customer special or a deal you've got that can save me money to keep me as one of your customers. And probably 95% of the time, there was some kind of a deal they were able to come up with because they knew they would just lose me to their competitor. It was better for them to keep me as a customer. So most people, that's where their story stops, is they find a way to save money, but then suddenly that new automobile appears in front of the house, or there's a new computer, a new phone. They take their savings and they eat it up with other expenses. And so I call this capture and keep, and that is, how do we capture those expenses and those savings and then keep it quickly and automatically by directing that savings to your number one financial pain point. It might be that high interest credit card. It might be the student debt, medical debt, whatever it is, have it automatically drafted to go right to that every single month. So you're not faced with, oh, do I spend this or do I save it? That is typically a loser's decision, because most people will say, I just want to go have fun. Who cares about savings? But if you can capture it, that one secret helps shave off almost 7 years off of my home mortgage, because I took those savings and put it right to my home mortgage payment, made that extra payment every single month, and it whittled it down quite a bit. So the bottom line is, I want to make it easy for people. You know, a financial book is really not a good book if it's overly complicated. We just want to keep it super simple. Set 3 goals. Ideally write down, how much do you want to earn? What is your desired income? Now, most people will say more, just more. I just want to make more money. But when you write it down and quantify, if you're making 75,000 US dollars right now and you want to make 95, well, now you have a goal, a tangible goal that you can work toward, whether it be getting a raise, adding more value to my company, launching my side hustle. Now you've quantified. So many people simply complain, I want to make more money, but very few people will say, I want to make more money, and here's how much money I want to make, and then begin to put a strategy in place of, how will I do that? And in the book, I talk about taking 30 to 90 days to create that plan, but then put yourself in the corner, kind of your back against the wall, and say, now here's what I'm going to do that. And one story I'll share with you, there was an explorer, kind of a conquistador back in the 1500s. His name was Hernan Cortez. And as the story goes, they had heard about this fantastic treasure, but no one had been able to get it from the island. And so when Cortez and his men landed on the island with their ships, he directed his men to do something unfathomable. He said, burn the ships. And the men questioned him. No. He said, we're going to burn our ships. We're not going home in our ships. We're going home in their ships. Well, what that did was, figuratively and metaphorically, it let the men know this was all or nothing. Their back was against the wall. They had to come through. And I think for people today that embrace that mentality, I think there's rich opportunities, and especially for a millennial audience. You know, people talk about that this is likely the generation where more people become millionaires, even decamillionaires, than the generation before them, because there's so much opportunity. And I want your listeners to be in that high percentage.
Yeah, totally. Love the burn the ships analogy as well, and that story. That's a really good one. So, Derrick, it's been such an amazing conversation, such golden nuggets. Obviously, I'm definitely, going to be one who's going to be getting that book. And as I'm sure it's going to be a very popular book, made simple for people to really enhance the quality of their financial life and overall life as well. What we'll get from it. So are there any kind of final points that you would share, or perhaps there's anything from the book you might add?
One of the biggest points of the book, going back, is that concept of the generosity purpose. And that's where I feel like it can really connect with people on an emotional and a financial level. There's so many movies that depict the end of people's lives. And they often talk about, if I had only spent more time with the people I loved, if I had only done things to make the world better. And that's what this book is all about, is giving people a chance not to wait to the end of their life to make an impact, but to make an impact right now. And it comes with making more money. And one of the principles that I would leave you with, Johnny, would be so many people think that, you know what, Derrick, if I've got $100 right now that I want to give somewhere, that's really not a whole lot of money, they think to themselves. And they say, if I wait until it grows to $1,000 or $10,000 down the road, given the stock market and whatever investments, that's going to have more impact. And what I would say is that's exactly wrong, because that's assuming that in economic terms, the future value of money is always typically worth more than the present value. True, but you lose the impact value. In other words, really, the present value of money given today is actually worth more than the future value, even though it's a smaller amount, because of the impact that you can have. Think if you wait 10 years, well, I'm going to wait to give this $100 until it's $1,000. There's 10 years worth of impact that $100, as small as $25, whatever it is for you, could have had in one or two or three people's lives. And so that's really one of the takeaways I want people to have, is this book is not just about if I give money, I lose and someone else wins. It's about really making an impact in your local community in the world. And by the way, you're making more money. So it's a way to keep improving your life and the lives of all those around you. And daily, I would say daily, experiencing the meaning and fulfillment that you've always wanted.
Love that. Love that. Giving is living, as they say sometimes.
I love that. Yeah, giving is living. Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. So, Derrick, such amazing value, and you're one of those people who really make people's lives a lot easier with the things you coach, the things you speak about, the things you teach in a simple manner. So, where can people find you, and where can they find your book?
Yeah, so I've got here's what the cover looks like, and it's called Good Money Revolution. And the book is available on Amazon, wherever you buy your favorite books. We've actually put together kind of a special bonus. We filmed 2 specific videos just for the release of the book. The book comes out 2/22/22. I couldn't think of a better way to launch a revolution than on 2/22/22. But we've got 2 videos, and if you go to goodmoneyrevolutionbook.com, that's goodmoneyrevolutionbook.com, you get those 2 videos that talk about how to save more, earn more, and crush your debt, and most importantly, how to get the raise you deserve right now. Those are free bonuses worth several $100s. The book retails for about $26.99, but that way you get those free bonuses as well. But again, we feel like the book will really help simplify money and help people achieve the financial goals that they've always wanted for themselves.
Brilliant. Goodmoneyrevolution.com.
We'll sure goodmoneyrevolutionbook.com.
Revolutionbook.com. Awesome. So we'll be sure to put that in the episode description as well for people to get access to that. Sounds a great deal there for what people are going to get. So fantastic. So is there anywhere else you would share? You obviously you're doing a lot of things, but we've obviously got the book link.
Yeah, one way for people to follow us on Instagram.
Okay.
We keep a very active Instagram page at Derrick, Derrick, the letter T as in Tom, Kinney, Kinney, Derrick T. Kinney. And we put out fresh content every single day. And my goal is, again, to keep adding value to people. Money is so complicated. And if we can help people just make one smart money move every single day, 30 days, 60 days from now, they're going to be much further down the path, and not just helping rethink about money, but giving them the confidence to overcome the fear that they might have had with their finances, and really have a plan that's built for them, not for their grandparents, not for their parents, but really for them, that can help them achieve all that they want with their money.
Awesome. Brilliant. So much value we can get from yourself. So appreciate everything you shared today, Derrick, and it's been a pleasure having you on the show with us. So thank you.
Johnny, thanks for the invite. I've really loved this conversation. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So that concludes our episode today. But remember, work on your self-confidence every single day.